That is really cool. I've never seen anything like that.
This one's signed by Johnny Lang, Buddy Guy. As you can tell, I'm a blues guy.
That's really cool.
When I did meet him the following year, I says, "Hey man, if I would have brought my gold top in today, would you have signed it?" He said, "Well, hell yes." Yeah, but I didn't want to carry my gold top into a
no kidding.
concert. Did
Clubs.
you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Holders.
Where did you get those?
I think I ordered them online, I guess.
Those are neat. I just have the standard guitar holders. Those are really nice. Hey everybody, welcome to Rod Tube Reef. Today we have a very cool guest, Rod from Rod's Food. I know pretty much all you guys use rods. So Rod was kind enough to have me over, just kind of like talk to him and interview him and hang out. So Rod, thanks for that, by the way.
Quite welcome. Thanks for coming out.
There he is.
Come here, let's get him over.
We can have him sit up here and just have him up here like that. How did you get into the hobby? Because you're quite the extensive reefer. I know you've done a lot of different things. Just tell us how you started and when that was.
My reefing hobby started with a construction project. We were remodeling the place we used to live in, and actually Meredith had said, "Hey, let's. What do you think about putting a fish aquarium in the wall here?" And we started off with a couple Oscars and catfish, which quickly outgrew our little aquarium that was in the wall, and we moved those into a bigger tank and turned that smaller tank into a reef, and that was in like 1990. So yeah, we've been at it a while.
How big was that tank?
It was a 45 tall, so like 3 foot by 12 inches by 2 foot tall.
And then you bred quite extensively the clownfish?
Yeah, actually, the first fish I bred was Bengal cardinals. I think I was at least one of the first 10 people, probably one of the first 5 people to have success with those. And that's actually when I started making our foods, is when I was breeding those Bengais. The food sort of evolved, and after the Bengais, my onyx started breeding for me after I started making the foods. And by the time I was done with the onyx, they raised 9 different species of clowns, or 8 species of clowns, and the 9th being the Bengal cardinal fish.
Did you just want a better food for your guys? Maybe looking for a better alternative?
Well, yeah, you're out here in DeKalb, Illinois now. As you know, it's kind of a small podunk town or whatever. It's not so bad anymore, but back in the 90s, you couldn't find anything except for maybe some brine shrimp if you were lucky. So Martin Moe's book gave me the idea of going to the grocery store and getting some fresh shrimp and stuff like that, and that's where I started. And over the years, it evolved into, well, what it is today.
So when you started, was it pretty much just for yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely. I started making it probably 96, 97. I had my own store for a while after I was breeding the fish, and I was selling it in my store for, I guess it was probably around 2002, 2003, and then started selling it to other stores in 2006. I was making food on a slow day one day at the store I was working in, A Splash of Life. A good friend of mine, Brett Perry, had the place. And another friend came into the store while I was making the food, and she says, "Hey, what you doing?" And I told her I was making some food, and she asked if she could have some, so I gave her a little bit, and a couple weeks later she came back in, and there was quite a few other customers in at the time, and she was a happy-go-lucky chick, and "Hey, can I get some of that Rod's food?" And that's where the name was born. So
the photo of the clownfish on the packaging was your fish.
Yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine, Tony, created a label. It wasn't necessarily for the food at the time, but it was for Rod's Reef and just rods in general. And he took a little picture with his iPhone and sent me my first label, which first I wasn't so certain what I thought about it. Cheesy or cool or what? but
I couldn't imagine anything else that you could have. I mean, it's a cool picture of your main fish that you're using to breed, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything else you'd use.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. That mama clown, she produced thousands of little babies and actually developed their own name of clownfish. They were Rod's Onyx. Everybody sought Rod's Onyx. Back then, I was really the only person to have success at getting them to color up black. Nowadays, everybody's able to do it, but back then, even some of the world high-class breeders told me I would never get black out of my juveniles, but they started showing color at an early age and kind of got us to where we're at today.
That's awesome. Now you mentioned Rod's Reef, because you didn't just start with fish food. It's way deeper than that.
Yeah, I was mainly a coral guy, and then kind of evolved into more of clowns and anemones. Anemones are my real passion in the reefing hobby. I had a lot of success with some what used to be considered difficult anemones to keep, the gigantes and stuff like that. So I was big on the internet, message boards and stuff, helping people out way back then, and eventually opened up my own store. Before I opened my store, is what prompted me to open a store, is while I was in construction, a large phytoplankton, back then it was one of the best phytoplankton companies there was, DT's Phytoplankton. DT offered me a partnership, but it didn't take me long to realize that watching green water bubble away, and especially with the people I was working with, wasn't what I wanted to do. So while I was with him, I had sold off all my masonry equipment and had nothing to go to after I left DT, so I just opened up my own reef store, Coral Farm, and that was early 2000s. So
Was that out of your house, or?
Yeah, it started before I actually did the store and before I went to DT's. And how DT found me was I had a farm going on in the basement, and he had heard what I was doing, and he was local, and knowing my construction background, wanted help building his new phytoplankton facility. And did that for, like I said, a year and a half or two, and realized it wasn't where I wanted to be. When I left, I had no place to go. The construction industry was already starting to tank. Plus, I'd sold my equipment. So, hey, what's the next best thing? Open up a reef shop, which turned out quite well. Eventually, the food was, everybody was wanting the food more than my corals. So, started making more and more food, and what used to be a building full of, 10, 20,000 gallons of water is now a building full of freezers and countertops and processors. So,
wow. So at what point, was there a moment where you realized this food is doing better than my corals, but I'm in it for coral, but the food's doing better? I mean, you would think that you'd try and fight to keep what you love, the coral, that's your business, but this is doing better. It's kind of like, it's happening without you realizing it, right?
Yeah, well, and that's kind of funny. There was another store, I can't even think of the name of the store now. Anyway, he used to always tell me, hey, I'd like to sell your food, because other people were driving all the way from Chicago all the way out to DeKalb, not just for our corals, but also for Rod's food, because I had started to release it as a product by then. And this is 2003 or so. And one of the stores, Dave was his name, he kept, hey, can I sell your food? Can I sell your food? And I would have to say, no, that's the only way I can get people to drive all the way out here for my corals, is by keeping my food as an exclusive. And he says, I don't know, you might lose $100 or $200 worth of coral sales, but I bet you gain $300 to $400 in food sales. And just got the old noggin rolling there, and he was right.
So you got all your
lots of swag over here.
Cool swag.
T-shirts. I was telling you earlier, I just packed a bunch up for another show that we're heading to Thursday, Fragniap, down in Slidell, Louisiana. I didn't realize though that just Tuesday is Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, so it's probably going to be pretty crazy down there. These are some of our freezer graphics for our small little chest freezers. I've got these designed for the ones that we use at shows.
Or it'd be pretty cool just to put on the front of refrigerators,
Yeah.
Because they're just magnets, right?
No, they're actually, it's vinyl, like car wrap.
Oh, okay.
It's high quality car wrap. Matter of fact, the guy that does my vinyl for me wraps all the cars for like the Batman movie and stuff like that.
Yeah?
He wrapped all those police cars and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. You had that one store carrying your food, and I'm sure they were selling it very well, and that's, I'm guessing, when you realized, hey, maybe time to put more effort into the food and maybe try and reach out to other stores?
Yeah, it just kind of happened automatically. And I never did the reaching out. They reached out to me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it kind of sold itself. After the first store, well, I sold it to actually that first store, and I was really good friends with Jason at Premium Aquatics. And, Jason says, yeah, I'd like to sell your food too. So by the time Jason was carrying it at Dave at Ocean's Floor, is the store I'm thinking of, in DeKalb, we're in Illinois. By the time both of those had it, it wasn't long before the other local stores were calling us up, and then pretty soon not so local stores. And
and customers talking, do you carry Rod's food, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, and so, okay, that's really
exactly
cool.
Well, with the exceptions of some of I don't know if we have any stores in Montana. If there are, they're probably getting it from one of our distributors. But we sell nationwide. We've shipped some up into Canada. There's more worried about saturating the U.S. market before other markets, but we have sold to the Philippines and stuff like that, but mostly nationwide. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, like I was telling you, when I first started in the reefing hobby, I didn't know what to get my fish, and most reef stores don't know anything. But they did steer me in the right direction. They said, you got to try this. And it was the Rod's Food Original Blend, which is what I still use. And like I told you before, I liked the picture of the guy that said it's swell.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big factors for me. And when I got the package, I thought, this isn't going to last long. It's not that big, but it does. It lasts quite a long time.
Yeah, that one, well, we don't water pack or gel bind, so that one package is going to last 2 to 3 times as long as your typical
easily.
water packed food. And a little bit goes a long way.
It lasts a long time. It really does. I mean, I'm buying a pack every couple months, and I've got 6 tangs that go absolutely nuts for it. They love this stuff. Everybody does. My coral, my Duncan coral, I did a feeding video. It goes nuts for it. But my tangs go just crazy. They take it from clowns. The clowns love it too. They all love it. The shrimp loves it. It's great stuff. So now that's all I feed them, with the exception of the bok choy and the collard greens from the supermarket. I put those large leafy in the tank, and they feed on it all day. All the tangs do.
Sure.
Other than that, it's the rods.
Pellets can be easy, but I think, at least I like to think, that frozen is going to be much more nutritional, especially when you're using such high quality, human grade fresh seafoods. Fish, they need to eat less of it because it's such high quality. They don't need to be fed as much, and that's another reason it lasts so much longer. Is the fish will process all the nutritional parts that they can, and anything else will pass through, but there's not much of anything else to pass through. That's why it's such a good food, and a little bit can go a long ways because your fish don't need to eat as much. So
once I started feeding rods exclusively, they
become
don't
spoiled.
Really touch anything. And speaking of the quality, I was reading on your website that the quality is very high, and you guys strive for that. It's just fish food. It's actually the same type of quality you'd get from like a big seafood restaurant, right?
Absolutely.
That you'd eat at as a person.
Yep. Chicagoland's one of the biggest seafood importers. It's got the biggest seafood market in the country, and the our seafood distributor sells to all the high-end restaurants in Chicagoland, but yet they make weekly deliveries to us. So, and everything is completely very fresh. Most of it was swimming in the ocean just a few days beforehand. So, yeah, Supreme Lobster actually is who we get our seafood from. They're in Villa Park, not too far from you. I'm sure you've seen their trucks floating around, but yeah, they bring us, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000 worth of seafood every week. So I think
great.
we're one of their bigger customers nowadays.
And I like how you guys don't cut corners. You're very, very picky about what goes into the food and the whole process. You're very involved in the company and the manufacturer of the food. And the word manufacturer sounds like it's just thrown together, but it's really not. That's really cool. You put a lot of high ingredients in the food, as we've said. And that leads me to a question. I had a question from one of our subscribers on that.
Sure.
Scott from Mile High Reefers.
Hey, Scott.
He wanted to know, is there a food you would recommend for picky eaters? And he brought up like leopard wrasse or butterflies, just in general. Rod's food, again, they're not too picky. They pretty much eat. But he's just wondering if you have picky fish, is there anything you could recommend?
Well, actually, our original blend...
Copper band fish, stuff like that.
Yeah, our original blend is... That's how it got to be where it was a lot of the stores would actually feed our foods to their new arrivals when they would bring fish in, and since they would accept our food more readily, they would settle in better, and they'd have a lower mortality rate. And our original blend is actually probably one of the best for picky eaters because it contains a little bit of everything. Some of the things like our fish eggs are really known well for getting finicky eaters to entice them to eat other things, but those fish eggs are in our original blend as well. Way back in the day when cyclopes, the frozen cyclopes, was still quite available, we used to put a lot of that in there too, which also made it more tasty for the finicky eaters, so they would go after it quicker as well. Our Pacific plankton, it's a lot like a mysis shrimp, but it's from the ocean, so it's got natural astaxanthins, and it's just going to have more of a natural taste for them. So things like that as well, for things like copper bands and stuff. Our Pacific plankton, like I said, all of those are in our original blend.
Coral, like Dunkin's, anything particular? I mean, I've fed them the original blend. The Dunkins love it, so I think really much anything would be okay. I fed them the veggie one too, and the corals, they go after that too, the Dunkin.
Well, in reality, if we could, we would have only made one blend, the original blend. I mean, that's why we did it. We got tired of going back to the freezer to get this to feed the corals and this to feed the fish. So hey, we put it all together, and it evolved over the years as more products became available or products became unavailable. So it evolved over the years, but you've got to keep things exciting and interesting, and not every tank is the same. Some people have 6 or 7 tangs, and so we came up with an herbivore blend, which is identical to our original, except with more greens added. Yep. Not everybody has corals. Some people just have a fish-only tank, so we have a fish-only blend, which we've removed all the super tiny particles like the rotifers and the pods and stuff like that are in there. Our predator blend is full of great big chunks of fun food for the fish to play with. So, you just got to keep it fresh and, create a blend for all the different types of tanks out there. Our coral blend, quite honestly, I think our original blend is a much better product for anybody that has both corals and fish. We've got a few people that the coral blend works better for, those guys that they do nothing but frag shows anymore. They might have a couple fish in their main tank upstairs, but their basement is just loaded with frag tanks. So, the coral blend can come in handy for that, but mostly we like to see people use the original blend, and it still makes up probably 70% of our sales. So
that's what I tend to stick with. That's what was recommended to me. They said just use this. It's good for pretty much anything, especially because I didn't have any corals then at the time. and they just love it. So I just what I stick with. I tried the herbivore blend, and they love that as well. So I don't think the fish mind as long as it's fresh and it's really good.
Absolutely.
So they love it. And then I had another question from D from Brooklyn. He was wondering if the rinsing of the food, how you're supposed to, I used to feed mice as shrimp and you rinse it under the water, preferably not tap water because it can increase the phosphates. I don't rinse the Rod's food. Maybe I'm lazy, but I know how fresh it is, so I just didn't. He was wondering, do you recommend it? And do you need to, because he knows that the quality is really good? Is it necessary?
When it comes to our original blend and stuff like that, absolutely do not rinse it. If you do, you're washing 50% of the good tiny coral particles away. Your rotifers and stuff like that are going to just wash right through your strainer, even the pods. When we first started, most of the foods, when it's collected on the boats, immediately goes into a solution of tripolyphosphate, which it's basically a preservative. It's still like if you go to the grocery store and look at any seafood package, you'll see tripolyphosphate listed as an ingredient. Although they don't even have to list that as an ingredient. Nowadays, with the way people are becoming more, organic and GMO-free and stuff like that, we're able to get chem-free things like our scallops and stuff like that. And we do, but when we first started, we were not able to get chem-free stuff. So everything went through an extensive rinsing process. We still use that same extensive rinsing process. We rinse everything we get, even though it's chem-free. You never know what they're doing on the boats, so we can't be sure. So, everything we get when it first comes to us comes very fresh. It goes through an extensive rinse before it's ever even thought about being frozen or processed or anything like that. So, don't rinse our stuff. We're going to be rinsing the good stuff away. There's phosphates in everything. Phosphates they're actually directly related to protein. So if anybody tells you they've got a phosphate-free food, they've also got a food that has no nutritional value. So, there's phosphates, but there's a difference between organic phosphates and non-organic phosphates. But we won't go into that today. But
that's what I thought. And plus, maybe I was just being a little bit lazy. I don't rinse anything. It's just a hassle. So I just broke it up. I just put it in the tank. I don't care.
Yeah.
But after reading your website, and you guys check it out. I'll put the link below. It gives more background information on Rod's food and all that stuff, and where to order. Your local reef store should carry it, and if not, let them know, and then they can contact Rod based on the website, and then they'll get it in there.
We actually prefer to see it sold in the local stores. The shipping gets expensive.
Yeah, it's fresher that way.
There's quite a few reasons, and not only that, but without the local stores, this hobby's going to suffer. So we need to keep supporting those stores.
Yeah.
Not that it's not good to support the mail order companies too, but we really prefer to see our stuff purchased in stores.
Right, and that's how most of you guys I know like to purchase things too, myself included. You want to get a fish, you want to check the fish out, right? You want to see the living conditions. I don't buy fish online. I don't really buy anything online unless it's like, some kind of pump or something. I don't feel like going to the store to get some last minute thing. But livestock and food, freshness, and you should really go there and support your stores. And there's not many of them left. I'm lucky in the Chicagoland area. I've got quite a few to choose from.
Yeah.
Some of you don't, so the more you can visit them, the better it is.
Yeah. Help them out, though.
Yeah,
help
definitely.
You out in turn, right?
I wanted to ask you about the coral business. When did you decide to kind of call it quits on that? You just couldn't handle it anymore?
I really got to get back there and take care of this tank, man. The corals are suffering, but I got 6 orders from this store alone. So I just ran out of time, and I could see my tank suffering, and it just wasn't right. So I eventually just broke them down one by one, and
put all your efforts into the food.
Yep.
And I wanted to stress on the food. Not machine made. I mean, it's all hands on.
It's all hands on.
Not processed like
Right.
You know, big.
It's not made down in China and shipped back up to us, and it's all made right here in DeKalb, Illinois, United States of America. It's a hands-on experience. I stay involved quite heavily myself with the food making. It's not like I've hired a whole bunch of young teenager or anything to,
Right, whole bunch of machines just working, conveyor belts and all this stuff.
Yep.
It's all very kind of like how when you started, right? Just a larger...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have employees, obviously,
right.
But
it's not this whole assembly line machining thing.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
That's really cool.
It's made the same as it was. I mean, the ingredients have evolved over the years, but way back when I started making it for my bang guys back in the mid to late 90s. So, yeah, it's been a fun run.
Homemade, just much larger scale.
Absolutely.
That's great. You also sell for freshwater fish. You got into that kind of recently, right?
We did. We started working on the blends probably 2 years ago, maybe even more, but just released them, at the Aquatic Experience where I saw you last time.
Okay.
That's when we first released them, and they're starting to take off quite well. We've got a largemouth blend and a smallmouth blend. Smallmouth blend is more for a community tank. But it's what really got us into it was the discus people were after our freshwater foods because of our color enhancers that we have in our saltwater blends.
How many blends do you have for the fresh right now?
For the fresh, just 2. We've got a total of 15 different products now.
Okay.
Which includes the...
And they're packaged the same way?
Yep.
Set the look.
Same Starburst 70s flashback logo.
Okay, cool. I wanted you to mention that you do the freshwater as well.
Absolutely. I think, reefing took over quite a bit of the freshwater part of the hobby for a long time, but freshwater's really making a comeback the way people are working with, I don't know if you've seen some of the Planet aquariums nowadays,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the way they aquascape them to... You just have to Google some of the best freshwater Planet tanks and see all kinds of really neat pictures. It's unbelievable what some of them are doing nowadays.
It's way different than what I had, a simple little 5-gallon.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't too fun.
Right.
Just, feed them. Whatever.
Yeah.
But at the Chicago Aquatic Experience, some of those escapes were amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of freshwater people feed things like beef heart, but we wanted to stick with more natural things that they would find, so we just used like freshwater shrimp and some crawfish tail, and we got some Lake Tanganyika freshwater perch, that comes in from Africa. We probably we try to stay with pretty much freshwater ingredients for the freshwater blends. We throw in things like the bloodworms and tubifex and daphnia and things like that for the smaller mouths, and our largemouth blend has got great big chunks of the freshwater perch and freshwater shrimp, and just like our saltwater blends, all natural, ultra fresh, human grade seafoods.
Great. Well, good. I wanted you to mention that because we didn't touch on that.
So thanks for bringing that back in.
Yeah. So you're not doing the company thing with Rod's Food. What are some of the things you do? I know you're a guitar player and you don't have much time for it.
Yeah, I wish I had more time for it. I used to love to play. We're homebody people. I've got a nice theater room in the basement that we watch some movies. We don't watch a lot of TV, but listen to a lot of music. I play when I can, but haven't had much opportunity lately. When the weather's nice, we're outdoorsy people, kayaking down the rivers, or I should say floating down the rivers, because our kayaking, I don't like to paddle a lot, and I'm kind of a lazy guy myself, so we float down the rivers in our kayaks and enjoy nature that way, and take Charlie, the dog, for walks on the weekends and stuff like that. So food keeps me pretty busy though, so we don't get a lot of time for that either.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed hanging out with Rod. It was a lot of fun, and thank you for having me over. I was looking forward to it, and you guys check out the food. I know a lot of you already do. If you have any questions, put them down below. Comment, and happy reefing.
Thanks for coming.